What's going on, guys? God bless you. Welcome back to True Encounter Nights here on Wednesday. We are hyped, not only my wife and I, but the rest of the team here, to conclude this series on relationships. And today we went from a Q&A to singleness and choosing singleness, right? That's a good choice you guys made, right? And then now relationships and marriage. So you guys see how that kind of escalates, right? So we're hyped tonight because this kind of conversation, there's so much that gets involved here because relationships, if we're not in the right mindset, the right, I guess, mindset or state of mind, whatever you want to put it, say, it can get complicated. And there can be struggles. And there can be things that really you don't want to entertain so much. So we're going to break down entering relationships, what marriage is, and also what marriage is not. Okay, so some things that's going to really help you guys. Again, please, if you got a phone, you got a notebook, take notes because we want y'all to receive tonight. And for those joining us on social media, we are blessed to have you with us. Like, share, subscribe. We want people to get blessed around you as well, too. Amen. So, my question I'm going to ask y'all, and the mic is hot, right, is what is a relationship? Anybody, go, fire away. What's a relationship, guys? You got the mic, girl. Go ahead.
Crickets. She does have the mic. Go ahead, Nicole.
What you got? Very simple. It could be very simple.
What's a relationship? I guess a connection between two people.
Bam. David, what you got?
I like it simple.
You can't say the same thing. Especially anybody got something, anybody they want to share, what's a relationship? Danny, Steven, Nico, what is it? Very simple.
Yeah.
All right, Kobe, what you got, girl?
Simple. Very simple.
Let me get that mic. ¿Qué tienes por ahí?
So it's two people understanding each other.
Hey.
It's a two-way street.
Okay.
Of communication.
Wow. Come on now. Oh, we got one Danny over there. Let's go. I like this. The whole class is going to be like this.
Does it have to be related to this whole concept?
No, you can make it whatever you want.
Well, can I say in Spanish?
Absolutely.
Okay, una relación, pienso yo, siento yo que es como dijo ella, Nicole, ¿no? La conexión, pero mejor dicho, para mí es como que la interacción que se tiene con esa persona para construir algo.
So the interaction to build something.
I like that.
Look at that, guys. These are good answers. I want to hear more, but we'll leave it there for now because there's a lot of stuff we're going to share tonight. So, number one, what's a relationship? I want you guys to understand this tonight. What relationships, and another question I have for you, what relationships have you grown up around? Okay? What has been the standard set by your parents, your family, and your close friends? When you look at that, see, a lot of us sometimes, it's like a self-analysis because we have to realize that you might have like this thought of like, I think a marriage is beautiful and everyone's happy and we hang out and go bowling every Saturday. And you might have that in your mind. Right. But you don't realize that deep inside your subconscious, deep in your behavior, your attitudes, the way you respond, what you've seen is what you think relationship is. You think that if the guy comes home every 3 days, that's normal. If you think that there's physical hitting or emotional abuse, that's normal. Yes. And then you think that, okay, so, I've seen this, so no one's perfect. You use the whole covering, no one's perfect. So, if you hit every now and then, you forgive, you make up, right? But you start seeing so many things, and you start actually defining what a relationship is up here. And then when you find somebody, you might fall in love with them or you might like them. But then what ends up happening is eventually somewhere in the timeline, you start taking all that you learned and you're putting it on them. So those insecurities that mom and dad had, with your brother who goes from relationship to relationship, for me and Laura and I, actually a lot of us in this room can share this. And I don't think everybody, but a lot of us can. Wait a minute, hold on. We might all be in the same boat. Is everyone here the youngest in their family? Hold on, you're a single child. Yeah. Crystal, you're young, right? Youngest?
He's both.
Youngest, Nico, you two are más.
You're the
Más
oldest?
mayor. And you're also también mayor.
Oh, okay.
Also, this is weird. You guys are sitting
weird.
perfectly. Kobe, you're youngest too, right?
All three
All right,
of you are
and Brian's oldest too. And Monique, you're Here we go. So,
Youngest.
listen, it's so weird how you're sitting like this. Everyone's
That's
like
funny.
literally. So, when you're the youngest, guys, pay attention. When you're the youngest, you not only see what your parents do, but your older siblings. And here's the crazy part. Your old, for me, Stephanie and Brian, my older siblings, shout out to y'all real quick, they taught me a lot about that, but can I be so real? And it's nothing against them. But when they would come home, like at 12 a.m., you know, they come home at 12 a.m. and they come home from hanging out with their friends, or they came out from one girlfriend to another girlfriend, I thought that was normal. So I would adapt to that. I thought relationships were, as long as nobody gets hurt, as long as they don't know about each other, this is okay. So you start setting a standard up here. And I want you guys to hear this verse because you heard it in different contexts, but tonight, I hope it hits different. The word is found in 1 Corinthians 15:33 in the Amplified Version. And the verse says, do not be deceived and misled. Evil companionships, communion, associations, corrupt and deprave good manners, morals, and character. So listen, if you can share this with me real quick. I'm not sure if you're vulnerable, if you want to be real tonight. Have you ever said, I would never do that to a person, and then you did it?
Absolutely.
I would never. God forbid, I would never strike her. I would never even touch her with a pinky.
Yep.
So I'll knock my whole watch off. So but the crazy part is, you know why you did that? You know why you did that? It has nothing to do with your willpower. It's that you've been exposed to this. So if she's acting up, and I seen daddy do this, where's she going to get? A nice cálmate? No, un trabacazo. It's because you think that this is what it is. And sometimes we really think that because I'm just a good person and I got to know Jesus and I've seen good things. Listen, you might know God, but you might not be delivered.
Right.
You might know Jesus, but you might not know how Jesus acted.
Right.
Okay? The whole turn the other cheek, I'm going to hit both cheeks. Yeah, so I'm saying, so it gets to that point where I want you guys to realize there's so much that goes into the people around you and how you view relationships. So it's significant to understand where you've come from, what you've seen along with what your expectations are for a relationship. You know what's crazy? A lot of people that I've met that have had relationships fall apart, when you got to a point of conversation with the two, there was no proper communication of expectation. He doesn't do this, and she doesn't do that. And they're like, you never told me to do that? Well, you love me, no? Let me tell you something. That's not going to work. You got to learn how to properly communicate things and express expectations. Because this is going to be what you do in dating is the foundation for your marriage. What you've learned when you're together with someone, you're courting them, and you're going out with them, you're buying them roses, or you're expressing your romance or your love, that's going to translate into marriage. So you got to make sure you found that. So here's my question that my lovely wife's going to take over for. What does a relationship centered around God look like, and what are we looking for in our partner?
Awesome. So that was good. So what does a relationship centered around God look like? Before you decide to step the relationship up to a romantic one, a couple key things you want to do as a Christian, right? First of all, you want to bring it to God. Okay? Ask the Lord.
How you
Lord,
do that,
is
babe?
this you? Huh?
How do you do that?
Well, in our case, I think we were, pretty to the point about it. We prayed about it specifically. Right. When I met you, number one, you already checked the box of, is he a Christian and really walking with the Lord? That was one of the big ones. Not only that, but I was already waiting on God for clarity. I had already prayed into this a long time. So I had already prayed into the fact that I wanted to recognize a man of God before I just looked at his outward appearance. So I already had prayed into this. This is something that I did long before ever meeting Ken. And then when I did meet Ken, my initial thought was, I don't know why my eyes keep being drawn to that person. And so I don't know, maybe let me ask the Lord about this. And it was just my...
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Because I think it's be very edifying for everybody. So I'm going to keep it real with y'all. So I'm not sure if you heard the story yet, but when I first met Laura, the numbers were exchanged and I texted her. She didn't answer me for 2 weeks. And the reason was, though, was because you were on a blind date.
I was going on a blind date. Yeah, my mother had set me up to go on
So-
a blind date with a person who was already, in training to be a pastor, by the way.
Okay.
Also.
Bam.
So.
Can I ask you this question then? So you went on a live date with a dude,
Yep.
and you just met me and wearing a onesie, and I did a whole Superman show for you.
Yep.
So how is it that you had a talk with a person,
Right.
and you discerned
Yep.
that person wasn't it, but the person you haven't even spoken to in depth yet was it?
Yeah, wow. That's
never asked that
that's
question,
a
right? They hit it
good
right on the
question.
money right
I actually
there.
really like that
Answer
question.
this guy question because I'm interested.
I think one thing. I mean, you want me to just go into that? Because I
Hit
can
it.
talk
Go
about
ahead. Do your
that. One of the major things that I noticed immediately, the difference between that person and what I knew was going to be like the man of God that I had, that was supposed to be for me, was I immediately felt like this discomfort with being myself around that person. I felt like I had to play some kind of role. And I was just like, this is not, like, I don't want to have to, like, be someone that I'm not. That was the number one thing that I felt immediately right off the bat with that person. Then the other thing was I did not see this person leaning into the Holy Spirit at all. There was no talk of the Holy Spirit. There was only the word, and very little mention or interest in the move of the Holy Spirit. So like the supernatural, and that was something that I knew. I was like, I'm not going to a church that has no move of the supernatural. That's outrageous. Like, I'm not doing that. And
so you discern all that right
yes.
away, even though he was utilizing
even though
the word.
he was going to Bible college.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know
There
any
was,
of this.
yeah.
This is brand new to me, man.
Yeah.
It must have been good, though.
He was going to Bible college and everything, and but I was
crazy.
like, I don't feel comfortable being myself. I feel like I have to be somebody else. And then the whole, like, he was just like, nah, I'm not really interested in like talking and speaking in tongues, or I've never really I don't really believe in like dancing in the spirit or anything. So all of that was, needless to say, that was the end of the date, and I was like, okay, we can be friends. Bye. That was pretty much right off the bat. I would say those were.
But again,
cues.
he was in training to become a pastor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like he was evil.
No.
Right.
Right.
He just wasn't cut out for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually
Yep.
a really good example because
There
sometimes.
was one other thing that I noticed that I just forgot.
Yeah.
I noticed he was a little bit more like compromising in his convinctions.
So like he
I
would
won't put him
waver.
on blast or anything. I just
No, right, but that's
there
what
was
you
something that I
noticed.
noticed. I was like,
Now the reason I asked that's because we have already depicted like the evil illustration, the guy who like doesn't say Jesus, doesn't want to go to church, but there are some people who do everything right, but they're just not for you.
Yeah, we had a different vision.
Right?
Completely.
And that for me gets me because you can be with somebody who understands the things that you want them to understand, but number one, can you be yourself?
Yeah.
Like, can you have fun?
Right.
Like, can you like express things, or are you kind of like talking to somebody who's waiting to take the whip out and just be like,
Yeah.
no, I don't like that. So that's
Right.
something you have. No wonder. Okay, that's something you have to look into. That's why I'm sorry I asked you to cut you
Yeah,
off, but you can
absolutely.
keep going.
No, it was a really eye-opening moment for me because I realized, wow, I really know what I want, and we're just not compatible at all. It was just that kind of feeling.
And then it's funny because our conversation was completely different. Then.
Entirely.
I should have came speaking in tongues.
180 degrees.
No, but what's
180
crazy
degrees.
is now that you mentioned that, our conversation was, without even knowing, was more about how to express our spiritual gifting, how to have like Holy Spirit, YWAM. When I went to Charlotte,
Yeah.
like we expressed a lot of our encounters there.
Yeah.
So like and then Brazil, and then also that was actually pretty dope.
Yeah, and I will say this too. Like, don't think for a second it wasn't an unattractive person. This was a very attractive person going to Bible college, and there was zero there. It was like God made it as clear as day that there was a wall there. That like this is not it. And
knew
I was
the
like,
word,
not it.
attractive, becoming a pastor.
Yeah.
Some people write some notes tonight.
Right. And once that was cut off, I was like, okay. No, I'm
Right.
kidding. That was like, it's funny because I had already whispered to my sister about you before that blind date even happened. I was like, so there was this guy, and I don't know what it was, but something about him just like drew me. But that's going to be put on hold because I got some blind date coming up. I was like, but I had mentioned to my sister, and those were some things that like I don't talk to everybody about. So I trust my sister in that level. That's why.
Another key point here: be careful who you're telling about your
Yes,
singleness.
I don't go.
Because some people be like, I got the right man for you, the right girl for you. Like,
Right.
relax, bro. I have chosen to be single.
Yep.
So I don't need you to set me up with this dude who, whatever it is,
Right.
girl, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets too rough. You know, that was good, though. I like that you mentioned that. I've never heard that story before, so
There you go.
go ahead.
Like I said, before you step out into that relationship, that romantic relationship that you want to pursue, bring it to God first, because He's going to give you discernment. I believe He's going to give you discernment right away, like He did me. It was like a clear, like, there was like this invisible wall that was like, nope, not it, you know?
Wow.
So bring it to God. Second thing, wait for God's direction. Okay, that's hard to do. But wait for God's direction. Don't just be like, I don't know, I don't really feel like I heard God clearly, but you know what, we're going to go on a date. Like, no, that's the wrong thing to do. Wait for God's direction, okay? Actually wait. Number 3, know more about the person. The more you know, the more informed of a decision you're going to make, right?
man.
You're not just going to guess, you're going to know. So get to know the person. Number 4, sorry if I'm going too fast, I apologize. Mention your interests too.
I'm sorry, there's a question that just came in.
Oh,
a live
awesome.
question for you.
Hey.
And that
I
question
like it.
is, was it difficult for you to let that guy go?
In the moment, I would say yeah. In the moment, because I was like, but God, he's in Bible college. I was like,
He loves
He's in
Jesus.
Bible college. He loves Jesus. Like, what?
Dios
But
mío.
it was a clear no. It was just a clear no. So I did like a day of like getting over it. And then I was like, oh well. You know, I just kind of like bounced back. But yeah, it was. I would say like for maybe like a half a day, I was like, what? You know, that kind of moment. But
Interesting.
I knew it. Yeah.
Okay, look at that. That's actually, I like that. That's a good response.
It's a good question.
Good question, Carlos.
What? Oh, it's Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos
Oh,
is
what's up,
watching us
Carlos?
right now.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so number 4, I would say tell your interest. Tell rather your leaders, your spiritual parents about the person that you're interested in. Why? Because your spiritual parents hopefully know enough about you to say, you know, okay, yeah, tell me more about her. Sit down with me. Let me hear what you feel like is, you know, so great about this person. And they can give you wise counsel, right? They can give you their feedback that's going to be not only just wise counsel from their experience, but also wisdom from the Lord, right? Because they're your spiritual parents. They're there to guide
Shout
you.
out to Crystal. I
Yes.
asked her that question, probably watching online with us. And she was like, I asked her, I'm like, if he would ask you on a date, like you guys are talking,
Yeah.
but before the first date, how would you feel? She was like, I would want them to talk to you guys.
Right.
And again, that's conviction. Again, we're not trying to chain you up here and be
No.
like, tell me everything. But we want, right?
And
we
by
want
the
you
way,
guys to have
this
that.
list was from the apostle who passed away. Okay,
My
so
Faja.
this whole list right here that I'm sharing with you guys, this was
Yeah.
passed down to us from him.
Daddy-o, bringing that heat.
And the next thing is that you would be ministered in certain areas. That's number 5.
talk about that.
So before you step into a romantic relationship, make sure that you are ministered in certain areas. So once you've commented, obviously, to your spiritual parents, you should be making an effort to address certain areas in your heart, in your mindset, in your culture, the culture that you've adapted. All right. So those things need to be ministered to. Number 6, cut any past, any ties, any soul ties that might still be there. Why? Because that's going to influence how you view that individual in that romantic relationship. You might even unconsciously start comparing them, you know? And it's out of ignorance that you're comparing them to previous people. I saw him do that. That reminded me of this, and now I'm triggered.
Can we
things
dive
like
into that?
Huh?
Anybody
Yeah.
here guilty of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to share something? No, or do you want to
Please.
just keep it at that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Stop. I'm sorry. Go on. If you want the mic, because
Yes. Oh, thank you,
edify the
Nicole,
world
yeah.
right now.
If I saw them drinking like a drink every day, I'm just like, oh my God, he's gonna be like my ex. Or
Oh, I like
if
this.
Yes.
I caught them in a lie. I'm just like, oh, they're pathological liars. It's just triggers.
Yes.
Ooh, so a lot of triggers that came from that.
From trauma.
Yeah.
You're triggered from
I had a
the
lot of
traumas of the
PTSD,
past.
so I healed.
Oh, anybody else?
Yeah.
That's good. And we had the moment they're comparing.
anybody else?
You catch yourself just comparing, like, oh, she does this, he does that.
Or
oh,
like
she's
the
that.
love of your life, and now everybody has to like meet some crazy standard because the love of your life is no longer there, and
Ooh, that's a bad one.
Anybody else have that?
I
know I went through that.
Yeah, I actually met somebody who said the person that I met before, I really thought we were going to get married, and I had that in my mind.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that was me. Mm-hmm.
no, but yours is different though because of the situation.
I mean, I was 19 when
right,
I dated.
but it's funny because sometimes you hear stuff like that, and you're like, so I'm never gonna meet that standard.
Exactly.
And then it's like, don't even waste your time. If he's telling you like that, it's just. But I like that. That's a good share because sometimes you bring that stuff into your next relationship, and it can become a problem, like you said.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I remember I idolized that guy that I met when I was, that I dated with when I was 19, to the point where like no one was gonna measure up unless they were him, So God had to deal with that, He had to deal with that. So
what about you were with somebody? So let's see if people can relate to this one. You were with somebody that you liked and they broke up with you, and you had a hard time finding somebody new because you love what they offered. Has that ever happened to you? And you're stuck on that one person trying to find a replica of that person.
Yeah.
There you go. So, with me, I'll mention mine because, like, you can find the right person in front of you, someone who actually wants to talk to you and indulge, and you're like, yeah, but you're just not this person.
Yeah.
I want you, but as this person, and now you're basically blocking things from happening in your life.
Yep.
You got something you got to share?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing, because a lot of times, let's say you're going out with someone, right, and then things don't work out, but you have that person, like, you figure some expectations with this person, you made a bunch of memories, and then let's say someone else comes into your life, and you're working things with this person, right, with this new person, and they're offering you, like, a whole new chapter, a whole new thing that you can work out, but your mind's still...
It's still
I
back there.
don't feel the same way.
Yep.
Sure, but it doesn't feel the same way as I was feeling with this other person, And then you start backing up, and a lot of times I feel like you let yourself go out of something that could have worked out.
Yes.
Due to your mind being stuck on that
Precisely.
other relationship.
100%.
And that's how it happens.
That's exactly how it happens.
And the poor part, the worst part is that person is legit trying to like sow into your life. They like you, they're attracted to you, and you're like, yeah, but you're not this person, so bye. And it's just like, And then the worst part is you don't want to cut them off because they're giving you some kind of, peace, some kind of emotional support.
Yep.
So that, this is going on for days, but sorry, honey, go ahead.
Good.
Go ahead, you keep going.
It's okay. And I love that the apostle said this. Get rid of everything that would make you think of that person as well.
Like what? Like what?
Well, I had some earrings and a necklace and a watch that I really didn't want to get rid of, right?
Oh.
So there are certain things that are, sentimental, like things that you hold on to from those previous relationships that keep you stuck in that soul tie, whether you realize it or not. Songs maybe that you need to avoid listening to, right? Go ahead.
Kobe jumping up on this one. Go ahead, girl. Come on.
Yeah.
Show the world.
Hello. Okay. I think it's important that you explain what a soul tie is.
Oh,
because
thank you.
I
You're
didn't
right.
know what that was until October when we had our whole healing session and you broke down all my trauma.
Yes. Yes. I like that.
Wow. Yeah, that's actually a really good thing too.
I like that. I want to come up with
as
a nice, clean
as
one.
she gets into that,
Yeah.
there was also a thing with me too. I the way I first got into watches was through one of my ex-girlfriends, and she bought me this fire watch that honestly is like, and the crazy part is when life fast forward, that was one of the first things God asked me to get rid of. It was like almost like a $5 watch, and I'm just like, but I had to clean it, new battery, and give it away. And I also felt like when I did that, there was a freedom.
Yes.
Not just from the idolatry of the watch, but what came with it.
Yes.
The emotional thing, the tie that came with it. So, listen, there's some things, guys, that you're wearing today that you might think, oh, it's comfortable because it was a sweater and it feels good. Get rid of that. Go ahead. What you got, Mo? You raising your hand real quick.
Yo, high-key funny story, because y'all are going to know. Y'all remember this, right? So, it could be something so simple, y'all. Like for me, I had this pair of sweatpants for like 10 years. And Laura hated them.
Oh,
She's-
are we talking about these
the ones
sweatpants?
she threw
We're
out.
talking about
yeah.
these sweatpants right
Yeah.
now?
Like straight up.
Okay.
Like from like 2012. Like
Wow.
not gonna lie.
Yeah.
You got some people got to do ceremonial
And
burnings.
I'd be like, nah, but like they fit perfect. They're
Yeah.
dope. Like I'm little. They're the right kind of baggy. Like, but low key, it was definitely a soul tie as well as like,
Yeah.
oh, it's nice and this is like that style. But like, cause I remember when she first was like, why do you wear those? And I was like, mad offended.
Yeah, you were not having it.
And like I tried to hang on to them for like an extra like
Thank God
year,
then.
and it was like
Thank
no.
God those things are gone because there was
Yeah, right.
more
But like
behind
thankful to our Jesus friends, because y'all, Laura would not stop ragging on the sweatpants, and
You got a
then one
reason.
day, like she not only threw them out, she bought me others, and we're like,
I did.
here you.
Hey.
She gave me some,
I did, y'all.
and
Burnt
she
and
bought me
replaced.
others, and she was
So
like,
angry with
nah,
those.
never again.
that. Yo, so
She
I'm
was
not,
like,
I'm not
"Change
sure.
now."
There's a ploy out there used by our the community of exes where they say come get your stuff.
Right.
You need to come and get your stuff, right? Come on, now we don't know why you're going there. And that's the thing. There are things they take you.
Yeah.
I'm keeping it real now. Like, oh, you left your sweat, you left your left sock here. It's like, oh, I love that left sock. So I was like, you gotta go back there and get it. No, you're not. You're not gonna go back to your left sock. You don't even know what your left sock looks like. So we have to get to that point, like what Mo said and you guys said. These things the devil's trying to capture you.
Yeah.
He's trying to get you in there, man. So, well, I'm happy we threw those things away.
Right.
Goodness. Well, you got a second one? You got a second one, David?
I have a couple.
He's full.
I think,
Go ahead.
yeah, when we talk about soul ties, do you think it's to get rid of everything that covers like that person?
Right. Wait, say that again? I'm sorry. I didn't hear you because you kind of faded out.
Yeah, the
Okay,
mic,
so-
yeah. Go ahead.
So when we talk about soul ties, right? Will you guys say you have to get rid of like everything that is related to that person? Let's say I don't know, photos or stuff like clothes or etc. etc.
I will say this. What benefit is there to keeping photos of people that you know?
I don't want this mic no more.
I would say that because you gotta just know that to move on, especially in this situation, in order to be fully prepared and whole for the next person, you gotta take into consideration. And I would say, bring it to the Lord, pray about it. I don't want to be religious and be like, yes, every single thing has to go, because there might be like one thing that I still have that I forgot that it was given to me by somebody. You know what I mean? But I would say for sure, if it's something that like as soon as you look at it, like you remember that person, I don't really feel like that's a healthy thing. So, but let me just real quick, like Colby said, talk about soul ties. So soul ties, there's no explicit word in the Bible that talks about a soul tie. What it's really referring to is the concept that soul and spirit are often interchangeable in the Word of God. And so when the Word says, and the two shall become one flesh, right? When a man sleeps with a woman, the two shall become one flesh. It's implying basically that you are becoming attached. Your mind, your will, your emotions, all those immaterial parts of you are becoming one with that person. So what you may not be aware of is that those attachments can lead to and potentially have power over those same immaterial parts of you, your mind, your will, your emotions. So understanding that, for example, some of those things might leak into your future relationships because they're still controlling you in a subconscious way. So a godly husband and a wife should have a good soul tie together, meaning their relationship should positively affect each other's souls. Okay,
good.
so I don't want to give it a negative connotation either, right? I want it to be. But it should be a healthy soul tie. So when the two become one in marriage, it's a healthy thing where you affect each other in a positive way. You guys are benefits to each other. You guys lift each other up. And so that's essentially what a soul tie is. So things a soul tie can also develop. I want you to be aware of this too in just fantasizing about someone. So even like sexual fantasies and things like that can create soul ties, because you've allowed that thing to penetrate, and on a deeper level, you may not even be aware that you're giving legal right to the enemy to torment you because you've opened a door of sexual immorality into your life in that way. So one thing that happens with soul ties, I see your hand up. We have a hand up back there, Monique. One thing that happens with soul ties is that,
active tonight.
some of the things that person struggled with leak into you, and some of the things that you struggle with leak into them, and vice versa. Okay, so that happens. I've heard a lot of people recently about how they experience certain things by being with someone who said that they experienced those things in the past. And so they're like, it's really crazy. You're like, what? Why? They just told me about that, and now I'm experiencing it. Well, that's what happens in a soul tie sort of situation.
Wow. That is some good stuff.
So,
My gosh, let's keep it rolling, though.
yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Did you have a question, Monique? Did you want to?
Oh, you did.
No, I just wanted to like speak into that because high key, it's happened to me in two separate situations. One of them was like a sexual relationship, but also like don't sleep on the fact that it can happen with like supposedly platonic people, because I had a soul tie to a romantic soul tie to a person who I was never like sexually involved with or actually like physically romantically involved with in any way.
Yeah.
And it like the only word I can think of is like haunted me. Like it really like tracked me for a minute.
Wow.
And got in the way of relationships even after like coming to Christ. Like there was like a lingering there that God had to like walk me through.
Wow. I mean, I've definitely, I would agree with that. There sometimes it's just a kiss or a hand holding, but it's just that significance of that relationship or of that moment for you that opened up your heart in a way that, linked that person. So, yeah.
This next one right here.
Okay, so number 6, right?
No,
No, 7. Sorry. Establishing a friendship and establishing foundations. So establishing a friendship and establishing foundations, make yourself known. In other words, be yourself. Be yourself. Show you who you really are, and be comfortable being yourself around this person and expressing things that maybe are confrontational and maybe uncomfortable. Why? Because this is the important thing to do beforehand, so that you don't run into these things
you
later.
don't want someone to get to know a version that's not you.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
when you want to come out, they're going to be like, ew.
Who are you?
Like, who's this
Exactly.
person?
What is going on?
So
you
you
flipped the
need
script.
to behave as you are. And another thing, too, listen, somebody is going to like you for you.
Yeah.
Okay? If you have a person who's like, oh, you're not an extrovert. Well, mija, then I'm sorry, bro. That's not what you like.
Exactly.
So you don't have to become that to get that person.
Right.
Because then you're gonna spend like 10 years trying to do that. You're like, I don't want to pesado, cansado. I don't want to do any of this stuff anymore.
Right.
So you have to get to the point where it's like, okay, I like someone who's quiet and funny and wise. Okay, then that's what you are.
Yes.
Be that and be great at it.
Yeah. And the last one, should never start with physical affection.
Hey, now.
Why is that important? Because
touchy.
one thing leads to another very quickly. And as much as you say, no, I can stop. Yeah, okay. If you find that you have issues with sexual tension, seek help ASAP. Don't meet with them alone again and then find out, oh, that second time did it. That was it. No.
We witnessed that in a recent interaction with a couple that we met.
Yeah.
And not only is it very awkward for the people that are in the room, but you also know is like if that's just the beginning, then what's happening tomorrow?
What's happening behind closed doors?
Yeah, and if you do it in front of me like that, like what are y'all doing when you're watching your movie?
We're not around, right? So.
Right. So, and again, if it starts that way, the chances are both of you just really want fleshly things.
Yeah.
You don't really want to get into deeper things than that, and that could be carryovers from past relationships, or like I mentioned in the beginning, the way you have seen relationships.
Right.
Everything has to be hugging and kissing and squeezing and all that stuff, and then that can become the premise of what you do with that person. So
yes. So how do you know you both are ready to pursue romantic relationships?
Yeah.
Well, we mentioned some of these things before. Having a healthy self-esteem, not being arrogant, right, prideful, but also not being super insecure. Okay, both
about that.
are destructive.
talk about the insecure one.
Right, so both are destructive. When you think about it, being insecure will make you very possessive, obsessive,
Hypervigilant.
hypervigilant, very
Jealous.
cynical and skeptical and doubting sincerity, and suspicious is the word I was looking for.
Yes.
Very suspicious, and so that adds a pressure to the relationship, a strain to the relationship already that is unhealthy, right? So,
right. And remember, it's not you don't have insecurities.
Right.
Everyone has
we all
them.
come in with a little insecurities.
Don't be overwhelmingly insecure.
Right.
Because then you're just making up narratives about the person every single day.
Exactly.
And then you're bringing that stuff to your leaders and your pastors, and they're really trying to help you.
Right.
And then they meet the person, and they're like completely fine. And you're like, so you're the problem.
Right.
So it's like you have to get to that point where it's like, okay, if I'm insecure, I'm dealing with that right now in my singleness. I'm dealing with that by getting mentorship, getting help, and working through that.
Right, which is number 2, right? Brings me to number 2, which is work on your weakness. You're working on your weaknesses. You're not just ignoring them, pretending they'll go away eventually. Working on your weaknesses, seeking inner healing and things like that. 3, guarding your heart. You're guarding your heart by guarding your ears and your eyes. Okay?
I like this one.
So you're practicing faithfulness. You don't fall into gossip or patterns of this world. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, can I jump in that? Mm-hmm. So, okay, when we're talking about don't fall into gossip and the patterns of this world, there are going to be a lot of things when you meet somebody who you're trying to grow spiritually with, and the conversations are geared more about like conspiracies and government and death and COVID and diseases, and they're just talking about everything they see, and then they're just talking about like this celebrity and that thing, but they don't have any instinctual, like spiritual things in their conversation. There's no depth in what they're saying, no wisdom in those conversations. If they're always like, oh, the news say that we can't go outside because if you go outside, you're gonna die. Like if you're getting around these kind of people and you're just letting them eat of the world and then regurgitate those things, you don't want to get someone like that. I'm being very honest with you, because those people are going to constantly be moved by the world. The word said that we're led by the Spirit. So you want to find people who are not going to constantly fall into gossip. They're going to constantly fall into the things that the word says that God detests. So if you have someone who always want to gossip about that person, they want to talk about this thing, they want to get into these things about it gets a lot. And not that I'm saying you need to find a robot who just talks only about God, but you want people to understand that, yes, there are things that I see, but I understand that what I see is not everything. Yep. What I see, even though it's a reality, it's a truth, and there's maybe a fact, I know that God, what he's doing is bigger than that. So listen, if someone shares a fear with you, I don't like going to the supermarket because, supermarket, it's very close. Don't get mad at them for that. But they also know, but I'm working through my faith, Right. So get it to that point where you really want to understand that the person is not so gripped onto the things and the patterns of the world, but they're seeking first the kingdom of God and making that their priority. Although not perfect yet, but they're after that.
Right. 4th one is uniting with a Christian who is equally yoked to you, right? The Word of God
sounds
says,
like we don't have to say
do
this,
not
but
be unequally yoked, right? So the idea is that you're not walking alongside someone who, you've been churched and you're walking at a level of spirituality and knowledge of the word, and then now you're spoon feeding a baby in Christ. Or you just met somebody who, is straight from the world, but they've said like, oh, I'll show up to church if that's what you want, right? So we don't want to be unequally yoked. And unequally yoked goes across many, many categories, okay? So don't be unequally yoked. I love Miles Monroe when he talks about marriage and things like this. He mentions, ask what's in his bank account. Don't be shy. Like if you got 50,000 in his bank account and he's got 200, or if he's got 50,000 and you got 200, there's going to be real problems there. Why? Because that's an unequal yoke in finances. So things like that where you don't even consider that's unequally yoked. Yes, it is. It's unequal yoke, right? So you want to be at the same level, or at least somewhat at the same level, where you guys are running bracket towards the same things, because you want to complement one another. That's the whole purpose of marriage, right? So,
right. And again, it sounds funny to say it out loud, but it's something that, again, we're hammering at this because the way I look at it, it's like with Cairo and Luca. When I try to communicate to them to do something, I constantly have to father them like little children through everything. And if you're mothering or fathering a girl or a guy through spirituality and going to church and just like we get frustrated, parents in the house, just like you get frustrated when they don't want to do what you want to do, and it's been 2 years of that, right? Like, same goes for you, Amy. Like, that you don't want that in a relationship.
Right.
You don't want to be like, did you pray today? Did you go to church today? Oh, good job, high five. Here's a scratch and sniff sticker. Like, no, you want them to have a maturity where they know how to handle their business, you know, and they know what they have to do. So, especially going for the men, women looking for men, you want that. You want them to have that level. Exactly. And if you got to keep on fishing them out, man, you better leave that boat. Because,
Then continuing on. So what else? How else do you know that you're ready to pursue a romantic relationship? Not getting carried away with appearances. Okay, if your attraction to that person is all physical, oh my God, her eyes, oh my God, her body, oh my God, every time I look at her, my head just wants to explode. Like, oh my God, she's just like everything I want in a girl. Like, she just looks, the way she styles, the way she talks. Everything is outward. Everything is external. Everything is about, you know, what's on the outside, you know. There's absolutely no emotional or spiritual connection there. As much as you want to say there is, it is really all flowing from the same place, and that's the appearance of that person. So if you're getting carried away still by all that stuff, you're probably not ready to pursue a romantic relationship in this area.
And if you're also looking to dive into, I guess, categorize it kingdom relationships, one of the telltale signs that you're still struggling with your old self is that when you get into Christianity, you're only still looking at the woman or the man in the physical form. So you have to go when you come here. I love that we're a three-part being, right? So God wants you to look at all three parts when you're looking at that person. So if you're just keeping it like physical, like, oh yeah, he goes to the gym, yeah, he's he's cute, yeah, okay, that's great, it's fantastic. But if you are thinking that way, it's because there's a lot of flesh and old still tied to you. Because as you mature, you're gonna start seeing like, hey, looks, it's on the list somewhere, but that intellect, that spiritual, that emotional. How to carry a conversation. Right. Do you guys even care about that? Like it has to be deeper things there, and you're gonna see how much you like and love and admire those things. So you look for that, not just for somebody with looks. Because remember one time the prophet said, "Tonto lindos," right? Those dumb handsome guys, you can say like that. You have to look out for people who are just all flesh. Yeah. You know.
And I love Proverbs 31:30 says, "Charm can be deceiving, and beauty fades away. But a woman who honors the Lord deserves to be praised."
You know.
Amen.
Wow.
A woman who honors the Lord deserves to be praised. Oh. Yeah, Proverbs 31:30. Proverbs 31:30. You're welcome. I love that verse. So, not getting carried away with appearance. Okay, 6 is be yourself, right? Be totally transparent with the other person. Don't put on a mask. Don't lie. I mean, I don't know if I have to say that, but don't lie. Ask questions to find out more about that person, and really seek the opportunity to put them in those hot moments, right? To test what their reaction is when they're uncomfortable, when they're put on the spot, when they just have to act instinctually. Yeah. Those moments are the best moments. Those are the moments where you get to see really what's behind the curtains, right? Yeah. So when those instincts come out, because there's like something that's been pressed, those are important to know about right away. It's not to say to be like, oh, well, I'm cutting them off now. No, not necessarily, but it's an important thing to note, okay? You want to be aware of those things ahead of time.
And to go on that too, it's obviously you don't just vomit on the first date. You just ask them every question about their whole lifetime in one day. As you're getting to know them, challenge yourself. Yeah. And like you said, you also want to see what their responses are like. So when you're like, hey, so like, your family, how are you and your sister? We all right. Yep. Okay. So like, what do you want to do, like, as far as the future? Like, do you see anything? I got some ideas. Yep. Right. So we're not going anywhere with this person. So you have to realize that's not just them being coy and being, cute and mysterious. They don't have any plans. There's nothing cute about that. So you want to get somebody. Listen, if someone really likes you, they'll share with you those things. Right? If you're kind of pry out of them, well, I don't want to talk about this stuff right now. No, you have to get to that point where you're asking questions like, listen, and maybe the way you break the question is, I want to talk to you about my family. Yeah. and then boom, you share. And then how's your family?
That's a good one.
Listen, let me tell you
Very
something. One
good
thing
one.
you're gonna love what you hear from a girl or guy. I'm gonna give you a golden nugget tonight. When you talk to them about stuff like that, and regardless of how they are, introvert, extrovert, whatever it is, when they start saying stuff like, "Yo, man, yeah, no, I love my mom, but she gave me tight sometimes," that's a good sign. Because they're starting to be real with you.
Yeah.
Like, my mom's the best person on this planet. Like, they're not going to tell you that. They're going to say, I love my mom, I love my dad. Well, but sometimes we have these kind of things and these friction. Like, my brother, I love him. We're best friends. We fight sometimes. Like, they're being honest with you.
Yep.
You know? And if they tell you they're perfect and you go to a family dinner and everyone's throwing rice at each other, like that, you don't want to walk into that war zone. So you have to get to that point where it's like you want to kind of see the progressive vulnerability.
Yep.
It doesn't have to happen right off the bat. But if both of you are kind of getting to talk a little more and now your conversations are evolving, you want to see expression. And if you are trying to hide that as a male or a female, you're not going to win anything that way. And if you're trying to present to them this golden picture, my family's good, my cousin's good, my dog's good, my cat's good, everybody's good in my household. And it's just like, then you're like, okay, so you're lying right now.
Yep.
So you want them to be like, listen, this is good, but I'm working on this. Or like, like I told Laura, like, your boy's broke. All right, listen, I'm not lazy. Right. It's just that right now I gave my life to Jesus. I've been doing some spiritual things. I've been seeking him. You just happen to pop in at the right time, but to me it sounds like the wrong time. And it's like I'm sharing this, and she's like, wow, he's actually expressing himself right now.
Right.
And she expressed herself, and that was actually relieving. Because you don't want to be playing that like Russian roulette of like, is that truthful? Are you lying? Are you telling the truth? So it's like, but go ahead.
Now that you're mentioning that, how will you say will be the right time to be that open with that person that you're getting to know, but also how vulnerable you allow yourself to be around them?
I'm going to give you such a pastoral
That's a
answer
good
right
one.
now.
Oh.
The reality is that's all based on your relationship with God. Because for me to sit here and say on day 3, that's not good advice. Because what if the person doesn't care on day 3? What you have to realize is that's why you have to walk with the Spirit and teach and learn discernment. Because if the person is constantly not showing any interest, why are you going to get vulnerable with them? If your person really is like, yeah, surface level, and you're like, oh, I'm submarine right now. It's like, no, there's something happening there. But what you do, even if you don't see it reciprocated or you're still confused, like I said before, you break the ice.
Yeah.
And very simple things. Like, my mom, my dad, right now traveling. They're in Spain right now for preaching. I love them. They're cool people. There's a couple of things in my past. Like, oh, that's cool. Wow, that's good to know. So they didn't want to dive deep with you. So yes, you caught that. So you have to test the waters, and then Holy Spirit will start giving you those things to share. Because to be honest with you, the cool thing about that is that in those moments is where God is glorified. Because it's a pastor or a leader or a mentor, if I tell you those things and you do it and you fail, you come back to me, and only you get upset with us, then God kind of gets the blame too. So you have to get to the point where it's like, Lord, lead me right here. Because I do like this person, and they're awesome, and so I also want to give it like a timeline. It's been 4 days, we've been talking, it's been cool conversations, but I want to go a little deeper now. And if you give it and you're giving and they don't give it back, stop giving. Because now you're just giving gossip material. You're just giving, and then you heard David, bro. David's broken. That dude, I'm not gonna date that guy, bro. That guy he hates his dog and he hates his mother. And it's like I don't want to talk to him.
Right.
So it's like you have to keep it funny. Like, that's why humor is huge too.
Yep.
Bring them some humor in there. Bring some moments of levity and like have those times. But eventually you're gonna see how that person. You're both gonna like a flower blossom. And that's where connection, what we mentioned, what Daniel mentioned, interaction and building something through connection.
Right. Where
you're going to start seeing like, oh, word, so we can talk about this. And Laura and I sat there for like 3 hours in a Starbucks just talking about those things.
Yep.
So it was weird with us because it happened fairly early. Right. But there was already a built foundation of what we're trying to do here right now. So it's a good question. But again, you have to cultivate in your singleness hearing God, so you can hear him in that very noisy situation. Right. And turn it down, make, Lord, what do you want to do here? Good question, though.
I like that. Okay. The last one is there's genuine love.
Genuine love.
They demonstrate genuine love. So I'm going to say this real quick, wrap it up. So always, love always gives, right? The word says, for God so loved that he gave. He tells
Yes.
you what love looks like. It's giving, not taking. So always giving first, satisfying the needs of the other person, respecting the other, giving them freedom to grow, mature, and be authentic, happiness, and the desire to be with that person, recognizing that that marriage has to do with promising and covenant, right? Which basically says you're going to be there till your life, till the end of your life, right? It's always protective, even when it costs you losing. Okay.
Wow.
Resolved to solve problems and conflicts. This is what real love looks like. And finally, always growing and always seeking after maturity and progress. Okay.
Wow.
So it's not perfection. It's just it's that flexible. It's that giving space for the other person to be them. That kind of thing. That's real love, right?
Wow.
How to know if it's definitely the person that God is handpicked for you to marry? Not to say that there's only one person. I'm not saying that. I want you to hear my words. But how do you know that this is a God, a divinely appointed person? One, you hear the voice of God on it. Okay, I'm not talking about the audible voice. I'm saying you know that you heard God's voice, and that He's giving you the green light. Okay. Two, you feel the peace of the Lord upon it. Okay, you feel the peace of the Lord when you're with that person. You feel the peace of the Lord when you're contemplating that. Oh, to real love. Oh, the voice of God.
The voice.
So
you hear the voice of God.
Hear the voice of God confirming. You feel the peace of God.
Can I jump on that real quick?
Yeah.
Does anybody here really understand what the peace of God is? Okay.
At all.
Danny, it's a good answer.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point that I have.
Okay.
If it is not that way, like, I would like you guys to enlighten me a little bit more.
Oh no, that's again. These are actually great. We have to understand that the peace of God. So, first of all, you have to define it. The word says that His peace surpasses your understanding. So if you constantly keep inviting your peace to what God is calling, what you think God's calling peace, there could be some conflict there. So the peace is kind of like what Kobe was attesting to. There is going to be an absence of an emotion that's usually there in that circumstance.
Yeah.
So if you're confused, lack of clarity, wisdom is shut, like you feel like everything's happening in the wrong way,
Yep.
that is the lack of peace of God in that situation.
Yep.
Some of us really think that it's like, oh, well, I just feel good. That's euphoric. That's emotional. Peace is more of like, wow, there have been trials that I once have encountered, and I am seeing myself smoothly walk through the same path that I went through, and somehow I'm feeling this different level of peace.
Yeah.
So when he says that it's a peace that surpasses how you've interpreted things, that's where you have arrived. So the voice of God will confirm that the peace you're feeling, like, whoa, like I don't feel like I have to rush this relationship. That could be peace. I don't feel like I have to rush to tell anybody, that I have to rush to put a ring on it. That's peace.
Right.
You're feeling peace, like, wow, but I feel like I got to marry her. I got to go shopping tomorrow. I have to get a dress. That's not peace. You feel compelled, you feel impulsed. So peace in this situation is good, but I'm gonna get into the last one. You can keep talking because it's another factor to peace.
Okay, yes, circumstances are what you ask the Lord for them to be. Okay? And then the last one, parents and others say yes.
This is the second. Sorry, go ahead.
So circumstances are as you petitioned. Just put it like that simply.
But yeah, wait, elaborate that.
Okay, so essentially what your father was saying was circumstances are what you asked them to be. So the way that like things are just lining up, okay? The way things are lining up for this to happen. Like, for example, we had no money.
Right.
But our wedding was paid for.
100%.
100% by the day of the wedding. It was paid for, 100%. Like everything lined, and that's just one example of how everything was lining up in terms of circumstances.
But what about relationship, though?
What do you mean?
So in this case, we're referring to like relationship. How would you give them a good example of like things were lining up in the person they've met?
Oh, of course. That's the other big one, right? So circumstances are, so essentially what you had talked about with the Lord, right? So I told you guys about like how this was something that we prayed through in the beginning, before we ever met each other, was this is like, God, give me vision for my husband. Give me a vision of who he is and what what I need him to be like, etc. And I'm going to pray into that. So we already had outlined a vision of what we needed, right? What God was saying to us about who we needed, what we were going to get. And so through that prayer, I had written it all out, just like Habakkuk 2 says, write it out on tablets, make it plain.
Yep.
So I literally was able to take a paper written 6 years before and line it up next to Kenny and say, yep, flip, yep, turn, yep, literally.
Wow.
Every single thing on those like 2.5, like page and a half, front and back, okay, was this man right here. So, yeah, that was crazy. It was crazy, but that's how God does it, okay?
Yeah, and I think that aligns with so many things in life, whether it be your finances, your vision. Like you are mapping out what you want to see, and then one day you're going to celebrate how you mapped that out, how you envision those things to go. Although God obviously is going to put his touch on that, and he's going to do what he has to do. But I want to tackle the last part of parents saying yes. So understand this: a lot of your life, especially when it comes to relationship, it's going to be based on how your relationship is with your parents and your leaders and authorities.
Yeah. So parents are spiritual leaders.
Yeah, parents and spiritual leaders say, they give you the thumbs up. And for me, again, it happened so just perfectly that she was able to meet my mom, my dad, and Pizarro, and literally the three heads of the ministry at that point. And I kind of looked at it as like, wow, like I respect and honor these people so much that I want them to really give me their feedback on the person they're about to meet right now. And I think what affects that is when you don't want to submit and you don't want to have accountability and leaders and mentors, you're going to avoid that. And say, I don't really need that because I'm good enough. I know Jesus and this is right for me. Right. But the truth is, if you really want the peace of God, the peace is going to come through them as well too. They're going to actually confirm the peace that you're feeling right now. Yeah. They're going to be like, daughter, son, I love this. This feels so right. And I'm praying. I'm going to keep praying for it. But what I see in my heart and feel in my heart right now, this is a blessing that God has given you. Right. And that's the truth behind it.
Do any of you feel uncomfortable with that? You can be honest right now.
If it's weird for you, yeah.
Because some of that has to do with like traumas in the past,
and
I will say.
That's what I said.
And that's okay. Like I get that. If you've had like parents who were like very vindictive, very like narcissistic, if you've grown up with like people who aren't looking out for your good, you might be very hesitant to do that. And you might be very like, no, I'm protecting this. I'm never going to share that with them. It's important to know, one, God wants to heal that. But two, knowing the person that you have as a spiritual leader as well, of course. Like, holding that thought. I love how we had this conversation recently, Monique, right? Putting that thought on trial about those spiritual leaders that you have. So look at that thought and say, is this really true based on the evidence of what I've seen from that person, right? So are they trustworthy? Are they looking out for my good? Have they always been about my benefit, for my benefit? And am I judging them based on previous experiences right now? Yeah. Because I have no evidence for not trusting them in this. Yep. I have no evidence for doubting their sincerity or doubting their intentions for giving me good advice, right? Yep. So those kinds of things always, I know for me, that was a big thing. I was very private because I was very suspicious of people. I was very suspicious of people's motivations for like giving me their advice or opinions. And I had to break that because it was damaging for my growth. It was damaged. It literally keeps you from maturing. Keeps you from maturing and moving forward. Yeah. So that's
and that's why we understand that. Like if you guys did come from a traumatic experience with your homes and the people that you did call authority, we understand that, and we want to give you right now a piece to say that we are interested in seeing you happy with somebody. Yeah. Now, if that's an obstacle you need to, climb with us and the Lord, we're welcoming that too. Right. But again, to get that input from someone, and that all starts with the relationship you have now with said people. if you're close to them now and you're talking to them and there's a lot of, conversations outside of just that, you're going to have trust to bring this topic to them.
Right.
And you're going to feel that peace. And again, it's good to have that confirmation. Don't just make yourself the last line of defense.
Right.
Introduce somebody in that situation and say, I trust this person to give me a yes or no. And that person must be somebody you trust in confidence.
Yeah.
Not just like, oh, they're going to say what I want to hear. No. You got to find that prophet, right? That says, like, I'm going to, thus the Lord has said,
Right.
get away from that person. So you have to you have to find that person that leave it alone. If you might not know, but, they're going to say that. So,
Right.
so it's important to establish foundational principles, or the word that I use a lot with Rafi when I first met him, non-negotiables. There's two sides of non-negotiables. One, if you have a non-negotiable before God, he's going to take that word. He's going to go after those. So I'm giving you a warning right now. But you need to tell people, I have some non-negotiable areas that I do not move for you.
Yep.
People use the word boundary. People use the word, I guess, convictions. But the reality is you have to have that non-negotiable area when you enter into relationships. So things that you say, I'm not moving this chess piece for nothing. I can grow with you, I can assimilate, I can become one, but this right here, this is something that I'm doing for Jesus, not for man.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing to see, because if you meet somebody and they don't honor the way you're worshiping God, that's a red flag. Okay? Not that I'm saying your own version of it. I'm saying something you're doing biblically sound that's for Jesus. So be aware of that. Because when you establish non-negotiable areas, these actually help you make a decision whether to proceed forward or to end a relationship. Sometimes you're confused, you're on the fence. Your pastor said, yeah, he's okay. And then you're thinking, yeah, I like him. And then you start going back to, how does he feel about my convictions? How does she feel about the way I love Jesus? I want to be closer to God. Does she respect that? And if you lay out those things and it's a no, then you gotta go. Right. So the word says actually in Psalms 119, 15 through 16, it says, I will meditate on your precepts and contemplate your ways. I will delight myself in your statutes. I will not forget your word. So again, one thing you have to understand is I will delight myself in your statutes. Not the guys, not the girls, in your statutes, and I will not forget your word. If somebody is pulling you out of the word, that's not a them problem, it's a you problem.
Right.
So you have to get to the point where it's like, why did I allow this person to pull me from my convictions? And God's not going to condemn you. It's not a condemnation even tonight. What it is you need to now be aware that I want to just meditate on what God wants, contemplate his ways, and I want to bring that into a relationship. And I want someone to literally, do it with me. Now, obviously, you're going to come one and you're going to have your own ways and things, but it's with God right in the middle of that. And also it says in Matthew 7, 24 to 25, it says, so everyone who hears these words of mine and acts upon them, obeying them, will be like a sensible, prudent, practical, wise man who built his house upon the rock. The rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat against the house, yet it did not fall because it had been founded on the rock. Sometimes that cute girl, that cute guy is that windy breeze. Sometimes that girl says, I love Jesus, I'm going to become a pastor tomorrow, is the floods that come. You have to realize that if you're built on Jesus, someone wants to build on that with you. They're not going to take you off that and build on something new. They want to build with Jesus. So that's a major part of how you're going to get into relationships. And again, it's so good because you can't really fail if you're putting God in front of everything right now. Because if God's right here, so put it this way. If this is God, they have to see God before they see you. If you have God back here, they'll see God after. You see what I'm saying? So if God is here, they're going to see God first and then what you do. But don't put him in your pocket. I got some Jesus. Like, no, you have to live your life leading it that way. And they're going to find that. And I love that. Yeah. Like, you really hold him. You take the lamp from the lampstand, you put it right in that lampstand. I like that. And if they don't, that's your answer. So once you've established your relationship, the next step is preparation for marriage. If that's what you both mutually agree upon.
Right.
Don't walk up to me in my room, my office, and be like, I got this whole elaborate scheme to marry this person, and this girl's like, I don't want to marry you because you look like a fool. So you have to get to the point where it's got to be like, okay, so y'all both are in this room, right? So you both you want to proceed forward here, because it's not like him dragging you to the altar and be like, marry me, woman. Yeah, I want it to be where it's a mutual decision and you get to that point.
Yes.
So the word says in Genesis 2:24, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. You're going to become one. So everything now, the things you dealt with or didn't deal with, are now about to arrive in the same person. So that's up to you to bring that to Jesus and to solve that. So again, question here. Why did God create marriage, and what is its significance? Laura?
Significance.
Significance.
Sorry. Side joke. So, wow. So, pretty much what I want to share with you, I've pulled from my own experience and some other sources. But the first thing I wanted to share is purpose of marriage is companionship, procreation, and redemption. This is essentially what the God-given purpose of marriage is, okay? Purpose of marriage, again, companionship, procreation, redemption. I'm not going to go too much in redemption, except to say that it has to do with, God establishing the seed that was stomped the enemy. Okay, so has to do with procreation. Basically, it's a link from there. But companionship and procreation. So if we go back to Genesis 2:18, we see that. I have it here in, where's the, oh, weird. There it is. Okay, I have it in the Amplified version. So I'm going to read it real quick, 18 to 25. It says, now the Lord God said, it is not good, sufficient, satisfactory that the man should be alone. I'll make him a helper, suitable, adapted, and complementary for him. Suitable, adapted, and complementary.
There you know.
That's women, in case you guys didn't get that. Okay, that's suitable, adapted, complementary for him. Okay, well, I'm not going to hit it too deep, but those are essentially what purpose of woman comes from, if you guys follow Dr. Miles Monroe. But out of the ground of the Lord formed every wild beast, living creature of the field, every bird of the air, brought them to Adam, see what he would call them. Whatever Adam called every living creature, that was its name. And Adam gave names to all the livestock, and to the birds of the air, and to every wild beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helper meet from him. I don't know why it's worded that way. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and while he slept, he took one of his ribs, or a part of his side, and closed up the place with flesh. Then the rib, or part of his side, which the Lord had taken, he built up and made into a woman. He brought her to the man. Then Adam said, this creature is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh.
My flesh.
She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man.
Woman.
Therefore, a man shall leave his father. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother, shall leave.
Yep.
Let that door close.
And
shall become united and cleave to his wife, and they now shall become one flesh. And the man and wife were both naked and were not embarrassed or ashamed in each other's presence. A lot of good material comes out of this, guys. I would definitely recommend you guys just read through this and let Holy Spirit breathe some purpose, revelation of purpose on you as you're reading this. So let's get into a few things that I feel like this establishes. Number one, the Lord said it's not good. It wasn't Adam that said it's not good for me to be alone, was it? No, it was God who said it's not good. It was God's idea for marriage. It was God's idea for his whole purpose and plan to be reflected in a man and a woman, in these two becoming one, right? He said the woman was going to be suitable, adapted, and complementary for him. Suitable meaning good, meaning beneficial. She was going to be an encourager, right? Somebody who's going to enhance everything that God's put into Adam. Number two, adaptable, right? Women are very adaptable. We're very adaptable. It's something that he's gifted us with. And 3, complementary, meaning what he lacks, I fill. What I lack, he fills. We are complementary.
Hey.
Right? Nothing in this description means that, sounds to me like God made us unequally yoked. Unequal. Sorry. God did not make one creature less than the other creature, right? We are equal in the eyes of God. Now, he did call the woman to be submissive in the natural, but in the spiritual realm, we are equal, okay, in the eyes of God. We are to be complements of each other. So that's number 1. Number 2, did he say, oh, Adam, do you love her, by the way? No. Was it because of love that he united them? It doesn't say that. We recently, I love this, Miles Monroe.
Killed it.
He really did. He talks about the reasons why people used to get married, and then in these last 50, well, I would say 70 or so years, it's been about love. But beforehand, it was more about mutual respect and commitment and necessity, okay? So mutual respect, commitment, and necessity. That is the reason why you make a covenant vow, okay? It's not because I fell in love. Okay, that's great. That's a great feeling to have. But those feelings sometimes go up, sometimes go down, sometimes go up, and sometimes go down. Okay? And the passion might be kind of dimmed out when there's a million things you got to worry about, like your kids and cooking and da-da-da. And things just, start moving in a different direction. So your foundation needs to be on what God made it to be about, which is commitment, right? It's about commitment. It's about covenant. It's a choice. So I know a lot of people say, well, love is a feeling. Okay, love can be a feeling, but love in marriage is a choice. It's a decision. It's a conscious commitment that you make to be committed, to be, to be with that person for till the end of time. Okay, till your death. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing I love about this is, obviously, this is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. But what I love about this part where it says, the man shall leave his father and mother and shall become united, it's important to recognize that God envisioned, man and woman in this case, right? Because we all have parents. God, woman and man to leave their nest, okay? That means in every sense of the word, okay? In every sense of the word, you are leaving behind and understanding that what you are now moving into is something brand new. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that you come with the mentality of, you know what? I'm here to learn something. I'm here to learn again what this is supposed to look like. I'm here to unite vision with vision. We're not supposed to walk with separate visions. What happens if we're walking with separate visions? There's going to be division, and that leads to divorce. Wow. Okay, so we don't want separate visions. We ought to be combining a complementary set of visions. Okay, so if if my vision before I met my husband was ABCD, that's going to complement what God gave him before we met. That ABCD of his is going to match up with my ABCD, and we're going to complement each other. Wow. Okay, so it's going to be a shared vision now. The other important thing to understand is a lot of the things that you might have learned from your father and your mother may not be what you're going to manifest in your one flesh union with your wife. Wow. Okay, a lot of the things that she learned from her family may not be what she brings to the table, to the marriage, right? Because you cleave now to this flesh. Now you become one flesh with this person, and those things are now past. Those things have been cut off. Okay. And the last thing I love is he says, man and wife are both naked, not embarrassed or ashamed in each other's presence. The idea of marriage is that you feel completely free to be who you are, to be transparent, to be vulnerable, and there should be a sense of security in that. Okay, so the fact that there are many people who live together but don't want to ever tie the knot, there's a reason for that. It's because that person always has that sense of insecurity that they might leave me, right? If I don't stay on point with my physical appearance, if I don't, meet all their standards every single day, right? There's always that level of insecurity outside of a marriage covenant. Wow. And many people use that to manipulate. Oh, you want to stay with me? Yeah. Okay. Well, you can, as long as you maintain this whole list of things that I expect of my, significant other, right? So the idea is that in a marriage, a man and wife are to be completely naked, all right, and they ought to feel unashamed and unembarrassed.
Wow.
So okay, real quick, I just want to wrap this up. I feel like I'm taking too long. So, what a few things that marriage is not. It is not a solution to your loneliness.
Whoa.
Okay, it is not a way to find happiness. Okay, these are problems that will continue on into your marriage if you don't deal with them before you're married. Okay, Philippians 4:12 tells us what your finding happiness should look like. Philippians 4:12 says, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content, happy, in any and every situation or circumstance, whether fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. Okay, so the idea is you're not finding your happiness in marriage. Happiness is not the goal of your marriage. Neither is fulfilling some sense of loneliness. Okay? 2, it's not a chance to force your spouse to change or to lock down a person so you can stop doing those romantic things that you don't really care to do. Okay, just because you got married doesn't mean you stop doing all the things that you did before your marriage, right? So, right, I see my friend JC over here smiling. He knows, all right? Have you been married for how long now, JC? 27 years, guys.
May.
I know, right? We need him up here. So he knows what that is, right? You don't just stop doing what you're doing because, I got to lock down. No, actually, this is where you really put your commitment behind it, okay? And you kick it up and be creative with it. So if you want your marriage to be successful anyway. If you don't, then don't. Another thing, it's not a substitute for your intimate relationship with the Lord, okay? So your spouse does not replace God. All right? You don't just suddenly start leaning on, relying in, and putting your hope in your spouse. No.
Wow.
Right? God is still your number one. Your number one. He is your soulmate. He is your soulmate. I want you to hear that. He is your soulmate. Okay?
And I feel like sometimes that ends up becoming the problem.
Yeah.
Where the person, whether it be woman or man, you complain about your spouse. You're like, well, he does it and she does it. It's like, it's because that's your God.
Right. You made him your God.
And that your God ain't doing anything.
They're not going to fulfill that role because they weren't built for that.
Right.
Only God can fill that role.
Wow.
So God is the one who completes you. You're not completed by each other. No, these are two whole people coming to be in partnership together to push each other forward, to encourage each other, to inspire each other. Okay, it is not two incomplete people, broken people looking to be completed with each other. That's going to be a disaster.
Yep.
Okay. Marriage is not a place to try something. And if it doesn't work out, we'll just get divorced. Oh, my God. That's dangerous thinking right there. Dangerous thinking. Marriage is not an alternative or an escape to growing up and becoming a responsible adult.
Oh.
Ooh. Okay, so that means that you're not going to put all the responsibility on that person to take care of everything, and you just kind of kick back and okay, you got it right. Okay, we'll go. No, that's
or like
not okay.
it's like a trophy.
Or
like I got married, so I'm an adult now, right?
That's a funny one. Yeah, no. Yeah. Marriage is not a way to increase your household revenue or prestige. God Almighty, we see this a lot in our culture. People are like, well, if he's not making 6 figures, then I don't want him. Or if he's not earning what I'm earning, I don't think I should be. There's a problem with that thinking. I'm sorry. This is not about how to increase your revenue. Okay? This is not about how much he earns. All right? Proverbs 31. I like Proverbs 31:10 says it like this. A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. It's about noble character. That's what you're looking for, right? Marriage is not self-sustaining. Nobility. It's important to know marriage is not self-sustaining. You don't just get married and be like, yay, now happily ever after, right?
We're done here, right?
No. It requires your commitment to sow into it and focus on things you might need to work on.
Yep.
Marriage is a place of learning from someone who is going to be very different from you.
Oof.
Okay?
Man.
You get to watch how someone lives extremely differently from you, up close and personal. and you get to learn from each other.
I feel like that's such a good definition of that.
Yep.
Like, you get a front row seat of the roller coaster ride, and you're only
You're
sitting
like,
on.
wow.
Nobody else is sitting on it. And you get a front
Exactly.
row seat. You're like, whoa, this is
Yep.
interesting.
Marriage is not for the impatient, okay? Weddings take a day, but a successful marriage takes a
Ay,
lifetime.
Dios mío.
Marriage might be a few hours in one day, but I'm sorry, wedding. Your wedding will be a few hours, but a marriage, it takes time, okay? So it's not for the impatient. First year, you're going to have some bumpy roads. Maybe even second year, third year, you're going to feel some bumpy rides. And if there's more circumstance changes, that's definitely going to be some more trouble. But
Yep.
some of the best stuff takes a while to develop. The best things in life take time, right? So you have
Leave
to
it
stick around to
alone.
find out. All right, what is marriage? Marriage is, some of these are mine, like I said again, some of these are other sources, but refining process to bring about maturity. Proverbs 27:17. Who knows? That's one of my favorite verses.
You know, but
Yeah, thank you,
As
girl.
one
Iron
man
sharpens
sharpens
iron. So one friend sharpens another. So one man sharpens another. Okay, so the idea is that God uses those relationships around you,
Yes.
especially the closer they get, the more sharpening you're going to feel from them. Okay, so this is the sharpest blade you will ever experience in your life is your spouse, your marriage partner. Yep. Okay, so refining process to bring about your maturity and your growth. You're going to learn how to die every day. You're going to learn how to forgive every day. You're going to learn how to be humble every day. Why? Because becoming one doesn't look like, oh, you humble yourself so that I can rise and
so
shine.
I can be exalted.
No. In fact, I feel like in my wedding day, I kind of like perceived how there was some of that in me still. Like I was thinking like, isn't the wedding supposed to be about the bride anyway? And I was like, ooh, correction. God corrected me. He was like, word? It's about the bride? Oh, word? It's about the bride's
I felt
day?
that.
Let me correct you. He like legit shut me down when I had that thought like pop in my head. And he just interrupted me and was like, psych. No, it's not all about the bride. How about you notice the groom in the room? You know,
It's funny that there was actually a factor that affected me because when I was going to get my suit, I wanted to walk out there with a crazy fly suit. Everyone's like, "Oh, you dress mad well. You have a fire suit on." I went out with a very conservative suit because a lot of people were like, "It's about her. It's not about you." And I'm like, "It's about us,
And
bro.
that's
Right?
not
Like we're getting married."
Exactly.
So it's like, and it got to the point where people were like, they were getting mad.
Yeah.
Like,
Well.
how dare you want to look flashy? I'm like, I'm not looking flashy. I'm looking fresh, bro.
crazy.
It's like, what are you talking about?
And the reality is, it's such a skewed thing because
It's
isn't
so
Christ
stupid.
the groom? Hello, isn't Christ the groom and the church is the bride? So who's more beautiful here? The church is more beautiful than Christ? I'm sorry, nah, we got that twisted, right?
We
So
taking all those pictures of me. You would crop me out?
I got real humbled real quick in that moment. I was like, oh,
That ain't from
okay.
Jesus.
Okay, let me shut up now, you know? So yeah, that's important is recognizing that to becoming
Shout out to
one
my men out
is
there.
you die to your selfishness, your
Rock that
self-righteousness, your arrogance,
Rock
so
the
that
suit.
you can become a new thing, right?
Pink suit,
That's
Raph.
never existed before with this person. And a wedding, guys, I'm going to give you something that the Lord showed me one day. A wedding is
Lord?
actually 2 funerals in one.
Whoa.
A wedding is actually 2 funerals.
Okay, he's like, whoa. That's a new one right
Yes.
there.
That's one thing
2
God told me. He
funerals.
said a wedding is actually 2 funerals
You're
happening.
both dead.
So celebrate because it's your funeral.
The 2 is becoming 1.
Yes, that's right.
Muerte.
Just remember that a wedding is actually 2 funerals.
That's actually,
Okay,
I've never heard that before.
it is. That's what God spoke to me. I was like,
Sick.
okay, God, I get it. He really hit me hard. But you understand that it's not about your vision and you coming in, but rather it's one new vision coming out of these 2 deaths and a new birth of
Yes.
something brand new, right? So
And again,
it
for
may
the
look
ladies,
slightly
like,
different.
we know you're going to look beautiful on your wedding day, and we're promoting
Yeah, of
that.
course.
But
Of
just
course.
the deep spiritual aspect of all that.
But yeah, don't make it all about you. Like understand that,
Think about him, too.
So yeah, it's in the celebration of death that we are made free to be what he always intended for us to be. Yay, that sounds like a rhyme. Okay. So marriage is interdependence. I know we're all about that independent women, right?
Oh,
But marriage,
thank you, ladies.
you need to put that to death, okay? Because marriage is about interdependence. This is another area where God had to minister to me because I was very independent, very, very self. I don't know what the word is, but just like
Independent.
self-fulfilling, like motivating, self-moving. I was like an engine that just would go and like
Ask
I don't
nobody.
need nobody. I don't wait on nobody. I don't know. I don't
Husband
ask
gets a
anybody.
text
I don't
message.
inform anybody. I just go. So that was something else that God had to really work in me, understanding that interdependence is actually godly, right? Not independent. Independence is not godly. Dependence on your father is godly. And
Yeah.
interdependence with your husband is godly.
It's also
So-
an act of worship.
Hey, share that, please.
No, because you have to understand if there's a biblical breakdown of how God wants you to have a relationship, the word says in Romans 1 that you present your body as an act of worship. So like when you do things in submission to what the word says, you are worshiping God.
Man, that's good.
And sometimes we think that's like, oh, well, I'm worshiping God because this song is hitting right now. No, it's not just worship. It's worshiping through living in the obedience of what God wants you to do.
Amen.
So, that's where you have to realize that when you're depending on her. So if I come home and I'm like, man, I don't have enough money or I'm struggling here, and I walk into the room and say, hey, babe, like, so this is the reality, I'm depending on my wife. I'm depending on first her counsel, her love, her understanding, her compassion.
Yep.
And that's where God starts to blossom. But what ends up attacking us is that we think that I don't need to express those areas. So I just figure it out by myself. And then when I come home, it's like, oh, by the way, the problem I never told you about, I figured out, yay! And it's just like, so what? Because the fruit of this isn't that the problem got solved. The fruit is that we were able to tell each other and to express to each other. Because now I know you're vulnerable to tell me when you're winning or losing. You know, because the reality is for my ladies out there, if your man is quiet and he's kind of moving in like the shadows and you don't see him, chances he's struggling. And he doesn't have the ability to say that he's struggling. And I'm not the strong man right now, Jameer. I'm not the guy who made money. I'm not the guy who's confident right now. And I want you to know that there is some struggle there. And it actually happened recently with Laura and I, and that's a whole different thing that God really allowed us to experience. But, if you see that, don't so much like try to fill the gaps and create a narrative. Go extend the olive branch. Like, listen, I'm here. What's going on? Like, you okay? Like, because I see you a little off right now. And you probably get a little bit of those, nah, I'm good, I'm chilling. Keep pressing in because that's the way you build. That's your worship. You're worshiping God by saying, I'm not coming here to say you're doing anything. I'm coming here to find out what your heart is saying right now. And the same thing goes for a man. If your woman is down, don't be, yo, why you down? Get up. No, hey, take her out. Let her get her nails done. Let her, hang out with them and talk to her. Like, hey, so what's really going on in your heart? And those are moments where God is being worshipped.
Yes, that's good. Oh, thank you for that. That was good. So interdependence, they have your back and you have theirs, always. Right? And I love going back to Proverbs 31 where it talks about the wife of noble character. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life.
Well,
It's about interdependence, about giving good always. Even good sometimes doesn't feel good, right? But it's good for you. It's always benefiting each other.
yep.
Marriage is realizing you've been seen in your worst times and you are still loved. There's an overriding sense of gratitude and security in marriage. So these are some positives, right, that we get from.
There's actually a cool moment that happened with us. So, like, I think, I've been saved now, going to 8th year now. And I remember when I came to the church and I started, like, I guess going through my phase where ya se me fue el pelo and my hair was balding already. And I remember so many people were like, oh my God, Kenneth, put some avocado on your head and put this oil here. Or, like, do upside down, like, like push-ups and, like, the hair will go down to blood. And the whole time when people are saying that, Laura's like, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I went to GSSM, everybody was bald. So you actually
20 men and
was
they were all completely bald.
She was like, you having hair, that hair, I love your hair like that. And that gave me confidence because I'm just sitting there just like, well, should I get a hair transplant? Should I put some Bosley in my hair? Like, what should I do now, But then when she opened up about like, oh, I don't care about that. I was like, whatever, so why do I care about that, So that happens, though, in exchanges.
Right.
But if I listen to the crowd and I go get this toupee and I'm like, hey, baby, what's up, girl? Like, niggas, this new dead rat in my head, it's like,
Creepy.
it had to get to the point where I heard what my wife wanted to say. And her approval of that
Yes.
gave me the confidence to press forward and say, well, I don't need to have all that.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
good. I don't know.
I think Daniel, is the mic over there?
Oh, did Daniel leave it back there? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, shout out to my bowl people.
Right.
You gotta rock it out.
Hello? Hello?
Go
Okay.
for it, go.
So just to add on to
Yeah,
that,
please.
Carlos actually gave me so much confidence because his sister is, I love his sister. She's like freaking gorgeous.
She's so cute.
I'm obsessed with her.
Yeah.
But she was like so good at makeup when we started dating and like when we started going to church, and she'd have like glitter eyeliner and just like everything about Michelle was just like perfect in my eyes. And
Wow.
I would try to like compete in my own head, like let me put on a lot of makeup.
But, like,
And I remember,
eyeshadow.
like I was going in on makeup. And I remember one day I'm like, do you like this eyeliner or this eyeliner? He's like, honestly, I like you with no makeup. And I was like, Jesus, thank you. I hate this stuff,
Yes.
And it just gave me so much more confidence where like even now, like he just told me last year, he's like, I don't like it when you wear like bright red lipstick. And I was like, really? I love bright red. I like hot pinks. But now I'll put them on and I don't even like them because it makes me
Wow.
look like way older. But anyways, but it actually is like it's such a confidence booster when you have like the love of your life tell you something that you're like, oh, thank God, I thought you liked this and I was trying to do it. So
I
it
tell
is
that all the
super-
time too. I tell all the time, like, your face looks great without makeup. I don't need you to have all that on. But that's the thing. I think that's where, like, those are things that we have to get to. Sometimes we're just focused on like superficial things. But like, for someone to walk up to you and say, "You're beautiful," just like that. But like mean it, not just like actually look you're ugly. But like no, like you like no, but like for them to tell you like you're beautiful, and I actually love how you look in that. And that's where it kind of gets to that point. But I think there's also beauty in what you did, though, in the beginning. I love that you felt in your heart, like, because you can only come to that conclusion based on you trying that.
Yeah.
So like that's what it is. And so you got to the point where I'm going to try what Michelle does, but then I found out he's cool with it, and I found out we're all good with this now. So sometimes it's good to get to that point to be like, you know what, I want to... Tiene algo. Oh, no. Estás escuchando. So yeah, so that's actually a really good point as far as that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Amen. That's good. So the next one, marriage is sometimes fighting, okay? Trying to learn to fight fairly. Listen to this. Trying to learn to fight fairly, to apologize. Saying that loud for a reason. To listen, to learn, and to find resolution, okay? So you're learning how to communicate with each other, even in confrontational moments. You're learning how to handle conflict in a way that honors one another. Okay, so you can still be honoring in conflict and in confrontation. It does not have to get nasty, right? Come on, you want to say something to this? Because I feel like you have lots of wisdom here. Can we get
where's
the
the
mic
mic?
over here? Yeah, 27 years.
My God. Speak up.
No, go ahead,
There,
Stacey.
there is something to always accommodate. Your partner must say something that is in their heart and in their mind.
Yes.
You have to be able to listen to it,
Oof.
even if it's hard,
Yeah.
even
good.
if it hurts.
Yeah.
Because then the next part is accommodate your own thoughts to it as well.
Hey now.
That's so
Then
good,
you
Jason.
start rhyming to come out with something different and excuse yourself after you do hurt them.
Oh, that's
Wow.
so good. Can I just?
That's
I gotta clap
actually
that one
really
out.
good.
I'm sorry because that was so good. Oh, you guys didn't hear? JC, you gotta put it closer. They gotta hear this. Come on, this is important. Say
There
it
you
again.
go.
I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. I
No,
thought
it's
was
okay. I
close
thought they heard too.
No,
Go
you're
ahead.
good.
Okay,
Say it
so
again.
it's basically more understanding what they have in their mind. So you gotta hear what they have to say, even if it hurts, if it's plain, if you feel it's dumb at the moment, but at the same time they gotta be able to hear what you have in your heart.
Yes.
After that, compliment each other, swallow your pride, either okay it, live on.
It's a wise man.
Yes. That is so
No,
good.
those are really good words, and I think
That's
I love
good-
what you said
that's
about.
good advice, guys.
Yeah, I think they're in marriage because of that joke we made before that like you get the front row seat to the craziness.
Yeah.
You have to get ready for that person, because think about it this way: they are not just seeing you once every week when y'all have a date. They're seeing you when you sleep. you shower, you eat everything.
Yes.
They're going to have an analysis, they're going to have a perspective that you can't deny. So when they say something about you, number one, from the place of concern, not, condemnation,
Right.
they're going to be like, well, listen, I'm not going to lie, I just feel like I've been kind of bulldozed and you haven't really spoken to me and stuff like that. Don't get mad at that.
Right.
What you have to realize, see, if let's just say, okay, I see Rafi twice a week for the gym, and then Rafi gives me this lifetime assessment. I'm like, bro, I barely see you. How am I going to take your confidence in that?
Right.
But when someone is next to you every single day, and they see you, and then when they see you when you don't even think they're looking at you,
Yep.
when they say something, that you have to be attentive because, one, they're probably opening up their heart to you right now.
Yeah.
And they want to share some things that you, and then like JC said, then you know what? That happened. I got to swallow that real quick, but then I can also express myself too.
Yes.
And the moment that dies, it becomes kind of awkward because now no one is speaking truth. There's no transparency, and everyone's kind of hiding what they really feel. And then that's just not a relationship anymore. It's just two roommates that hate each other.
Yeah, and
So.
this ties in with this next one. Marriage is about vulnerability, giving someone the right to hurt you or disappoint you, while simultaneously giving that person the opportunity to bring you tremendous joy and laughter. So you are giving them, you're opening your heart to both the good and the bad. You understand that. So it's understanding that they have the possibility of hurting you, of wounding you. They do. And that's what vulnerability looks like.
I think there's levels to that too.
Obviously not. I want to make
No,
sure
I know,
that
I know,
we're not talking about
where you're saying it.
unhealthy, violent,
right.
nature.
What I
type of
want you
thing.
guys to understand, and if she said it right, I just want to make sure you guys get it.
Yeah.
Is that let's just say let's give a very simple kind of cheesy example. Like you love tiramisu, and my man came home with chocolate mousse cake, and you're like, you don't know me. Like they're gonna have some small things that happens in that time to time. Oh, I love roses, but you came with tulips. It's like there's that level,
Right.
and there's levels of they're gonna also sometimes maybe accidentally hurt you and wound you or offend you.
Right.
So I don't want you guys thinking like he has the right to smack you
yeah.
across the face. Like no, like
No, right, please.
there are things that they're gonna do
Don't
because
hear
they're
that.
getting to know you that may
Yes.
be involuntary, or maybe sometimes because they're hurt, they might hurt you, and
Yes.
so just understand that breakdown of that.
Yep. So, marriage is a promise, a vow to try the hardest you have ever tried in your life. Marriage is a place for the achievement of personal integrity like no other. Personal integrity, tener integridad, right? To be who you say you are going to be. You made a vow. So now it's okay. So now if you're a man of integrity, you're going to live up to that vow that you just spoke in our marriage vows that day that you married me.
Yep.
Right? So it is a test of your true integrity like no other. And marriage is the potential for intense, deep, and diverse intimacy. Sexual, emotional, and relational.
Yep.
So there are many levels to this. Many, many levels.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop there. But
Yeah, I'm going to wrap this up
Yeah,
tonight
certainly.
with this pretty cool thing that I got from this book. It kind of goes for both the males and the females. This
Yeah.
book that we are reading,
It does.
we have the male version and the female version, but
Yeah.
it's called A Man of Purpose and Power, and obviously the female is a woman of purpose and power. But I want you guys to either take this down, write them down, and kind of understand them. For the men, our Bible study is going to turn into this very soon, so you have to purchase this book because it's deep. But Dr. Miles Monroe talks about 7 principles of purpose. And when you have 7 principles of purpose, which means why you're created, why you're even here on earth today, they're going to help you understand not just what to do as a man, as a child of God, as a person working and making money, but also as a person courting, dating, and also getting into marriage. And these principles are going to help you out because once you have this established, they're going to help you to stay centered in everything you do. Even when new seasons come, when new times come, you can rely on this. So number 1 out of the 7 is you must know that God is a God of purpose. So everything that you do in your relationship with God comes from purpose. God didn't just slip up, oh my God, I forgot Amy did this thing that had no purpose behind it. No, it came with purpose. Whatever came to your life Whatever is happening, whatever is taking place has purpose because you serve a God of purpose. The second thing is God created everything with purpose. So, raise your hand if you're a creation of God. You're all a creation of God, which means you have a purpose. You were created with a purpose from the God of purpose, which means there's something he wants you to fulfill also in the area in which he created you. Let's give an example. If I want a phone, the phone was created to service, to call, to text, to go on the internet, whatever I want it to do. It's created for that purpose. Okay, so you have to realize that you're God. It's got a purpose. You created everything with purpose. Number 3, not every purpose is known to us because we have lost our understanding of God's original intent for us. Not every purpose is known to us because we have lost our understanding of God's original intent for us. Sometimes you think you're going through life and it's like, why is this happening to me? Or this has to be some crazy thing. The reality is you lost that understanding that God made you and that the things you're going through have purpose behind them. So don't ever allow the devil to tell you this is a condemnation and punishment from God. No, there's a purpose behind it. There's a purpose behind why you're experiencing what you're experiencing today. There's a purpose behind why you have met certain people and where you're going and how you're handling certain things. So don't get maybe annoyed that you haven't understood the purpose, but God maybe right now through your season you're in is helping you re-identify the original intent of his purpose for your life, which takes a lot of dying and takes a lot of understanding from his word and from his spirit. The next thing, I love this one. Make sure you write this down. Number 4, where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable.
Yes.
Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable, or means it's coming no matter what. It is bound to happen, not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So if you don't have purpose, you're going to abuse the things around you. If you don't know what you got to do, what happens? You eat 16 plates of cereal, like bowls of cereal every day because you're just hungry. When you take money and you throw it at the wall in the garbage and you say, I want to buy everything that I see. You abuse things, and now the worst part is you abuse now fellow beings. You abuse people. I want to get sex from this person. I want to get money from that. I want to get feelings from this person. I want to get this from this person. Yep. So if you don't have purpose, you take things that God has created and you just start acting like nothing has purpose. Yep. So I do what I want to do, and then my king is my stomach, and whatever happens. But abuse is inevitable. So if you met a guy or a girl who doesn't know who they are or purpose or what they have or meaning of life, chances are abuse is going to make its way into that relationship. Those are the kind of people that curse at you, yell at you, condemn you, hit you, call you names, always conflict with you. They're lacking the purpose that what you have and what I have. Because if I'm a creation, she's a creation, and I know we serve a God of purpose, that can't just stop happening here. I can't be like, well, you don't have purpose. No, we all have purpose. Yep. So you have to realize that. So find purpose or abuse will find its way. Number 5, to discover the purpose of something, never ask creation, ask the creator. Now, this is a little interesting because you're hearing the creation talk about this. So I want you guys to understand what he means by this is a lot of times we want the in-depth revelation that is exclusively in the throne room of God for your life to be answered by beings, things, reptiles, rocks, people that you've met, card readings, the star, everything you name it. God's like, if you really want to know your purpose, come to me. Come to me and get to know me, because in me, I'm the manufacturer. I'm the person who made your car. If one of you guys went to a person and they built your car from scratch and your car gets into an accident, why would you take it to somewhere else? Oh, well, it's closer. It's more convenient. Maybe that's your problem. You want something that's more convenient. This person talks to me and likes me and pets me on the head and says, everything you do is good. So I take their advice. No, go to the creator, and he'll fix that car up and tell you what happened to the car. You need to go to the manufacturer of your purpose, because that's where you're going to know how to handle things in life. So in this case, again, what it refers to of never asked the creation is don't be worshiping the creation asking for answers. Obviously, we come to each other and we give knowledge and input to each other. But if you really want answers, you take that in prayer and intimacy and you seek that purpose. Number 6, we find our purpose only in the mind of our Maker. In other words, you can't find somebody who wants to categorize himself as an animal or a dog or a non-binary or whatever you want to call it. And you're like, can you tell me who I am in Jesus? In your mind, oh, you're a cat. Oh, you're a table. Oh, you're just a being that appeared out of atoms rubbing together and you just showed up. You were a fish. No, you need to go to the person who conceived you up here.
Yes.
Because he knows how he made you. And you have to go back to him and say, I don't want to hear versions of what I might be or how I came here. I want to know from you how I was made. Because if you made me fearfully and wonderfully, if you knit me in my mother's womb, if you saw my formless body, why in the heck would I ask anybody else? You have the answers to that. So I need to seek your face in intimacy. By the way, these are also advice to how you're going to seek God in intimacy. Right? So it's not just like, oh, I'm praying because I want a new car. No, pray because you're seeking valuable things in return. And the last one, 7, God's purpose is the key to our fulfillment. Once you know why God put you here, ain't nothing can stop you. Those are the most dangerous. You want the most dangerous being on the earth? No, it's not a lion. It's not a cheetah. It's not a whale. It's not a shark. It's a person who knows why they're here. Because not even death can stop them. Because they know if I die, my purpose is up. I know what I got to do, and I'm going to do that. Oh, God, you want me to sweep this church for the next 30 years? If that's my purpose, then I'm done. If you want me to do this every single day, listen, Apostle Paul figured it out. And the worst part about Apostle Paul, if you really read what happened in that book, Jesus told him straight up, you're going to suffer for my name. I don't think you know what that means, but you're going to suffer. And he says, if that is why you made me in heaven and released me on earth, then how can I say no to that? That's dangerous. Even the devil hates that. The devil hates when you find your purpose. Because you can't manipulate him. He can't manipulate anymore. He can't say, oh, that's not what you... Mm-mm. You had me in one season, but not anymore, man. Now I know why I'm made. And now I know why I have purpose. And now I know why God wants to use my talents and my gift that he gave to me in the first place. So, it's game on from here to this point. And I think that's what we want to conclude this class with, especially for the women and the men in here, establishing that purpose over your life. David, I want to use you as an example just because of our, how we've been talking, we've been growing. But, I love it. And it's funny because he did say something. I'm going to share this because it was kind of funny, but yet, prophetic. He saw this book and he covered here. He's like, right now I'm just a man. But it's going to be a man of purpose and power soon. He said, in June, you're going to see the next couple of words come up. And that's the reality of embracing who you are. Yeah. Because you're not comfortable, you're not satisfied with just being a man. Mm-hmm. But in this season, that's what you are in becoming the purposeful and powerful man. Yep. And I think we have to realize that because sometimes we're just too in like, no, I'm good. I just need a few tweaks here and there. No, call it what you are. I struggle and I make horrible decisions. I'm impulsive. I'm very emotional. I'm very touchy. Just say the things. Say them. And you start seeing like, wow, like I can actually get healed. What was the thing I said yesterday? It was on my Instagram story. My gosh. The first thing I ever posted. Oh, freedom. Freedom is found in surrender. Freedom, you find freedom when the more you surrender. So you find freedom the more you surrender. What are you surrendering to is the question. You're surrendering to the police, the cops, what the pastor says. You're surrendering to the purpose over your life. God doesn't want you walking aimlessly anymore. He wants you to be like, this is secure. And the issue there is some people are saying, God, can you just tell me tomorrow or today so I can do it already? How badly do you want to know that? Because if you want it that badly, trust me, there's some things that we do. Listen, for Christmas, I ain't going to front. For my wife, I shop and I search. I'm like, and listen, I got like fashion eyes too, so I'm like, that's not gonna look good. That's gonna look great on her. Fantastic. Oh, no size, okay. And I look and I look and I look and I look and I make a nice little thing for her because I love the fact that in my searching for what she loves, there's joy brought to my heart. So why do you feel obligated and bored when you read the Word of God? Why do you feel like it's torture or it's just like, oh my God, just give me the revelation? Yet you can make a meal that takes you 3 hours. You can work from 9 to 5 and get that paycheck and you didn't complain to anybody. So it has to get to the point where your joy of searching him is your objective in this season for all my single people in here.
Yes, that's good.
Make it a joy of searching him. And let me tell you, man, if I know anything about God so far from what he's done in our lives, he knows the right time, just like Adam all the way to myself and Laura and everyone else before and after us who've believed in him. He knows the right time to bring that person into your life. And usually it's when you are not looking. Usually when you're so infatuated with Jesus and you're worshiping, oh, you're so holy. Who's this?
Yeah.
No, it's okay. You can look. No, I gotta keep worshiping. You're so holy. No, you can look. I was telling, did we talk about the gym today? Yeah, in the gym today, right? I was telling Raph about that, and it's just like, it was hard, man, because, when I met Laura, I told him something that actually got revealed while I was talking to him. We were having our man talks in the sauna, right, Rafi? So, But, no, the cool thing was that, sometimes you're looking at women and looking at men, and you're interested, or there's attraction, But when I saw her, I legit felt God be like, it's okay. Like, I want you to look at that. Like, no, God, but I got to worship because But the truth was, as I kept bringing that before God, God's like, this is what I have for you. So even though you told me many times you don't want nothing right now, this is what I've had for you the whole time. And what I'm saying is that there's beauty in getting connected with him, because trust me, guys, and I tell you this, and I hope you receive this tonight, when there's something that you need clarified, he's the first person to clarify that. He will be the first person. He is not a God of confusion, he's a God of order. So if you really have the petition before him and say, I don't know what I got to do, man, God's never going to be like, well, you got to keep guessing. Like, no, he's going to give you clarity. The word says in the book of James that he will give wisdom to him who asks for wisdom. However, he who has double-minded cannot receive wisdom. So what does God say? He gives you nothing. So ask for wisdom. And I love that it says he will give to wisdom and without finding fault or condemning. So he's not going to be like, I don't know about Amy. You ask for wisdom, Amy? You really want it? Toma. No, but I'm not worthy. Yeah, you are. You're with Jesus. You're one with him. That he's your righteousness. So in this whole series, Laura and I want you guys to understand that you're all going to get to know God as you seek him, and then also as you meet and grow with the person that you're going to one day call husband or wife. But the only thing you need to worry about in this season is my self-awareness, dealing with my insecurities, generational curses, my inner struggles, and keep going, keep ministering before the Lord. Sing to him. Look for, guys, there's beauty in singleness, man. Listen, half of y'all in this room got keys to the church. Come here and start worshiping. That's what I did. Listen, can I give you an example? I used to come here and do that. Yep. I used to be like, yo, mom, dad, I'm going to be in the church for the next 3 hours. Right. And you'd be like, okay, Bobby. And then I come here and then I'm worshiping. And honestly, I'm not going to even lie to you. I had no intention. There was no I even blatant. It was just like, I just want to do this right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm telling you, there's ways for you to intentionally use your time. So whether you're in your car, whether you're at your house, whether you're at work, guys, make God everything, man. And trust me, if there's anyone in this universe or this earth or anywhere that's rooting for you too, is Laura and I. We're rooting for you guys. We want you guys to be blessed. We want you guys to be prosperous. We want you guys to be one day, if we have to groom you in here or send you off to build a church in wherever you got to go, we want to be the first ones to bless you guys. But I tell you this, it's a very tricky area. Wherever there's emotions, especially high intensity of emotions, that's what the devil likes to plant himself. So he's prowling around, but keep on being prepared. Keep on listening to the Holy Spirit. And you're going to see how God's going to surprise many of you. That's my message. Amen. So that's our series, guys. And we also do encourage you guys, after this series is ended, if there are any more questions you have, any more inquiries, any kind of things, feelings, whatever it is you guys have. It's just like, maybe some of y'all right now like, man, I feel mad convicted. I like somebody I haven't told Kenny and Laura yet. But we want you guys to get to the point where it's like you feel free to express yourselves as beings. Whatever it is. Remember, it's not just like, come to me about spiritual things. Like, no, be whatever it is you need to be so we can help you in those areas. And be vulnerable, be ready. And that's pretty much our series for the month of December. Next week, Nicole will be back. Oh my God, this thing. We'll be back over here at the helm, and she'll be doing some vision casting, right? We're doing some vision boards and everything. Did you want to talk about that real quick, or?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Come on here.
Where's the micrófono?
Oh, there it is.
Lo tiene Steven, bro. El cantante, el ministro.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Let me do that real quick before. What do you want to tell everybody on? Okay. So for all those watching right now on YouTube, on Facebook, everywhere, we appreciate your support. Again, please like, subscribe, share these videos, because a lot of people in our generation need to hear more about relationships and marriage and singleness and the significance of whatever season you're in. So we bless you guys tonight. We hope that the Lord ministered to you. Any questions you have, please send them our way. We love to help you answer questions and to just help you in any season that you're in, all right? So we love you. Have a great day, and we'll see you in 2023. God bless you all.